While speaking at a function in Jinja, the State Minister for Gender and Culture, Peace Mutuzo, said that the government would withdraw microphones from those people who use music and art to insult the government. In a draft that NTV saw today, the ministry has raised a number of proposals that artists would follow. Here are some of these proposals. All artists must be registered. All artists shall send their work for approval and documentation. All artists will need a valid practicing certificate. No artist shall perform after taking drugs. Any indecent dressed performers will not be allowed. All artists shall sign an ethical code of conduct. All artists performing abroad need clearance from the responsible ministry. Any artist who breaches the guidelines will see their certificate revoked. One of these artists, who doubles as a member of parliament for Lubaga South, Paul Katorwama, welcomed the proposal.
You know, we don't want these things to be like a bathroom, your own bathroom, that you to join art, you shouldn't have any qualification. No, we have to regulate these things. You must have either S4, S6 to join up a group, or to become an actor, or to become an actress, or to become a singer.
Katolwama adds that for the new law to be functional, the copyright law should first be enforced.
That one, because the law is there, we just need enforcement of the government and sensitization of the public to know that when we are playing a song, which when you buy a song from a pirate, it's a bad thing.
Andrew Benon Chibuka, who heads the Federation of Performing Arts, who we met at his country home in Impiji, has supported the draft but has urged the government to first educate the artists about the proposals before they are implemented.
So we don't know how long these ones are going to be in place. So something which we expect to be in place for more than 50 years, we can't hurriedly do it in 3 months. So I request the government to organize workshops and seminars.
He says people who understand how the arts industry works should be incorporated to review the work of the artists.
Okay, the 80s. So if you wanted to stage a play in the National Theatre, you had to take your script to Nakasero to be censored. But the people censoring it did not know Luganda. And 95% of the productions in the National Theatre were in Luganda. So you take it there as a formality. So
however, Geoffrey Lutaya has a different view. He believes the government has a hidden agenda.
It wasn't drafted in a good faith. Yeah. Those people had something behind. They targeted money out of Ugandan artists. Sorry for the supporters, the fans, because they have been very supportive all the time. But to be very open, we are not getting what those people are expecting that we're getting.
For now, the new rules and regulations remain just a draft until the cabinet approves them and are passed into a law. Olivia Komgisha, NTV.
Now we continue the conversation that Olivia Komgisha did start there in regards to the new draft policy that the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development is set to actually, whether it will go ahead or not, but it has caused a bit of uproar in Kampala and around Kampala and also outside the country, with a number of people wondering how can this happen in a country that has been so free in regards to the entertainment bit of things. Now I am joined by two gentlemen who come from the entertainment industry as we try to dissect and understand what exactly this will mean for the country. Should we even have this in regards to a policy, given that we're continuing the conversation from reality on the ground? I am Rita Kanya, and we're going to be talking about the regulations of performing artists in the country. I am joined by a creative economist this morning, Mr. Alex Mukulu. Good morning, Mr. Alex Mukulu.
Good morning.
You're most welcome to Morning at NTV.
Thank you.
He has been a part of the entertainment industry for a number of years in regards to, first of all, being a playwright, being a director, and overall a creative and also a political satirist. Now I'm also joined by Mr. Eddie Sendi, and he is a music producer. So really, this conversation is going to be as balanced as it possibly can be. Good morning, Mr. Eddie.
Good morning. How are you?
I am fine. You're most welcome to Morning at NTV once again. And we're going to start off this conversation by simply talking about one thing. Who is an artist? I'll take whoever would like to go first in regards to who is an artist, because in regards to what the ministry is saying, they believe that this is going to cut across the performing arts. It's also going to, from the theaters to the music end of things. But for a number of Ugandans, they personally feel that this is coming to just haunt and attack the musicians out there. So, Mr. Eddie?
An artist is a creator. There are two types of artists. There's a performing artist and a visual artist. One of the most prominent visual artists is Mr. Noah Nyanzi. He's into batiks and all that stuff of paintings. Then we have the performing artists, where Mr. Alex Mukuru, the Jose Chameleons, some music producers, choreographers, dancers, stage actors, where they all fall. But the draft regulations being looked at right now, I would say are targeting performing artists, because they talk about nothing but stage and performance and all that. But maybe for the benefit of the viewers of NTV, I would like them to know that part of these draft regulations were once brought out by the ministry around 2005. I can't recall what happened, and they were shelved. Then they were brought again in around 2010, 2011. And when they were sent through, the problem with that ministry, it is not in tandem with the people, with the other stakeholders. They do most of their work haphazardly. They brought out those regulations around 2010, 2011, gave them to two musicians to go and consult.
Who were these two musicians?
They gave them to Joe Tabula and Silver Kyagulanyi to go and consult. And the way those two presented it, artists rejected them. There was a very stormy meeting at the National Theatre, if I recall, and the artists were up in arms against the regulations. And the ministry shelved them. Now they are back again with some more stringent and unrealistic measures put therein. So it's not the first time this kind of draconian regulations are coming out. But this time round, there are three things I would like to emphasize. One, the ministry should be more realistic and make very good and wide consultations with all stakeholders. Two, this is a wake-up call, and for the first time we would love to see musicians and all performing artists walk the talk. A lot of them are up in arms, unfortunately, discussing the right issue on the wrong forums. Okay. This is not an issue for social media, shouting and threatening and writing all sorts of things. This is an issue where musicians need to come together and write back and communicate officially and give solutions and give suggestions. You get it?
Yes, as we get into suggestions, before we get there and try to figure out what the suggestions are, first of all, we have the performing artists and artists at large who will be meeting today, this evening, to try and have a discussion in regards to this, as we have come to learn on Morning at NTV. But from Mr. Alex Mukulu, you have been in the industry for a while. And as Mr. Sendi has mentioned, that this has come up a number of times. Should we say, as we've defined an artist, would you also agree that that's an artist? And second of all, is it the right time? Or is it the wrong time?
Let me go back to what you asked, that who is an artist? There is an artist, A-R-T-I-S-T, and there is an artist, A-R-T-I-S-T-E.
Yes.
According to those regulations, I don't know who they are talking about. However, I can give you the definition of that. Artist, a person who produces paintings, drawings as a profession or hobby. This is artist. Person who practices any of the various arts such as a sculptor, novelist, poet, or filmmaker. Are you with me? A surgeon who is an artist with the scalp, that is an example. A performance such as a singer, actor, or dancer, informal, what? A habitual practitioner of a specified reprehensible activity. Then, artiste, a professional entertainer, especially single dancer, and that's where it stops. Now, who are these people? Who are they talking to? Which artists are they talking to?
In regards to it, it is done with artist.
Then you read me the first
Sentence.
draft
Sentence of a
regulation.
bit of it all. Okay, now the first one does come in, and this is what they actually say. I seem to have lost it. Just give me a
It
second.
says every artist,
How is it
the
spelled?
artist is artist, shall need a license to operate in Uganda.
Right. And now, you are talking about sculptors, you are talking about painters, you are talking about a lot of other things. Poets, literature, novelists. So, who are they talking about? Will a sculptor have to take his work to them
To the ministry.
before he puts it on the show?
Well, I think let's take it to just what the third regulation would be in summary. Now, the summary of the regulations, if we are to go by the third one, where they mention that no artist shall shoot a music video without permission from the Ministry of Labour. So let's look at it from that perspective, that in this case, a music video should be a musician. Yes?
Yes, but even a musician has a definition.
Yes. So in regards to maybe that they have not defined rightly who they're trying to target, which also shows in regards to
No,
this.
they have determined it. According to them, we know who they are targeting. They are targeting musicians. That's it. And they think that we all artists are musicians. So, like now, Kato Rubwama is there saying that every artist should have a qualification. Michael Jackson started singing at the age of 5. So how about an artist of 5 years of age? Must he or she have an S4 or an HSC certificate? So that is out of the way.
Let's talk about, in regards to the regulations, let's talk about the very first thing, that they should have a license. Let's talk about how it's actually going on within the country in
Yes.
regards to the industry.
License. What will determine that license? How will they know who an artist is and who an artist is not? What criteria are they going to use to license someone? Before you go to that, you should be aware of the way artists operate, or
Which
the
is-
way artists come to be.
How do they operate and how do they come to be?
Yeah, it is more than just knowledge. It's more than just resolutions or whatever regulations. This is emotional. In most cases, an artist is very emotional. Establishes or produces his feelings out of his own experiences, right? So, when we license people, it also says that people going abroad must seek permission from the ministry. Why is it the Ministry of Labour? First of all, in Uganda, we artists are in the wrong ministry.
Which ministry do you believe artists should be in?
Information. Now that this case of Bobby Wine is coming in, we artists are not supposed to be in the gender thing. we would rather be either in sports, education, etc. We are people who disseminate information to people. Now, because someone is disseminating political information to people, these guys in the ministry are trying to please the president. I swear that they are doing some work. Because I'm sure.
As we go ahead to talk about perhaps that maybe it is not, you do raise one important question, Mr. Alex Mukulu, that we need to get into. And Mr. Sendi, I'd love you to also be a part of the conversation in this. You mentioned the fact that as artists, as musicians, emotions are usually where you get to create from. Yes? And that is where they come in with the fact that in regards to emotions, vulgarity. In regards to emotions, we would like to sieve your content before we go ahead to actually let it out. Do we agree that perhaps sometimes the emotions get the better of us, and maybe that these songs that you let ahead and have everyone singing could have another impact on someone else?
There is so much being put in one pot. It's more like a fisherman's pie. Everything is all lumped up together. And the cause of that, whoever came up with the regulations didn't think it through. It was something haphazardly done. Maybe to narrow the conversation in the interest of time, I would like to say, one, there's a lot of shortage of manpower in the civil service. If they are to say that they are giving a license to every artist in the country, where is the mechanism that's going to license the artists? Have they thought of an artist in Adjumani? Have they thought of an artist in Chisoro? And have they thought of the artist on those small islands near Mijingo? Where are they going to be registered from? And who is going to do the enforcement? If Uganda, that doesn't have an official of the Uganda National Bureau of Standards at every entry point into the country, something so important to our lives, how will they be able to handle the licensing bit?
Briefly, there's no mechanism to follow up that kind of whatever.
Meaning, it's wastage of time to start saying, I'm going to build a house, when actually you are jobless. You know?
So as we talk about the fact that the mechanisms might be lacking, let's talk about an East African country that has actually made sure that they go by these things and that the mechanisms are working. Taking it to Tanzania, the music industry there is a part and is under the National Arts Council of Tanzania, also known as BASATA. Now, BASATA in just the last year, 2018, let's talk about Diamond Platnumz in regards to that, just a brief bit of it all. This body makes sure they manage entertainment events and review entertainment content within the country before it comes out. Diamond Platnumz decided to release a song called Mwanza that had a vulgar language to it. In the same year, he also had a music video that had indecent dressing, which our country is trying to talk about now, and control and curb. And also in the same year, he decided that he was going to actually perform at an international event. It was a festival in Comoros, but he had not gotten a license from this governing body, BASATA, which is supposed to give you a license, as our country is proposing, to let you leave the country and perform. Now, when he was leaving the country, as he was actually getting onto the plane, the regulatory body officials were able to get him off it. He had not let them know about the concert they was going to go for, but they had intelligence about it and stopped it. Still within the same year, at the end of the year, he actually was banned from traveling abroad because the song they had banned him from performing, Mwanza, he performed at a festival within Tanzania. Him and Rayvanny were banned from performing for a bit. We are seeing the mechanisms in Tanzania working. Could we say perhaps you could borrow them here as well?
What about those musicians that are coming in here? What regulations do they have for them? Those musicians who come here.
To perform here.
To perform here. Does that regulation thing mention them at all? No. So, if you can allow those kind of people to come in, by the way, we are talking about these regulations in a Gundi, an omnibus kind of thing. Let's talk one by one, because some of them are okay. Some of them are okay.
Some need a bit of panel beating.
Yes. So, if they want to regulate the artist, there is no mechanism, just like the copyright thing, that they have failed. Who has the mechanism? If the copyright organization is there, we don't have a mechanism to follow up which song played on which radio.
How many times?
Yes, and how many times. It's not there. We don't have that, you know. The infrastructure, the entertainment, there must be an entertainment infrastructure in such a way that the police or agents of any other organizations can follow up everything the artist is doing. It is not here. Why? Because artists, since times immemorial, as I started acting, were produced from Makerere University, MDD. And you know what they called them? Musiru Daradara. Now, it is changing because someone is on rampage with the politics, then everybody thinks now music is something. It's important, it can influence people, therefore, a wake-up call, he said. We don't have the grassroots. The MDD was created to teach teachers, primary teachers, cultural and traditional aspects, so that these teachers can go back in the rural areas to teach primary school students our varieties of culture, etc., folklore. And I was in Makerere and I asked a lecturer that when I finish MDD, where am I going to work? And she said that you are going to work in the Ministry of Culture and your job will be to be a cultural officer. And I said, what does a cultural officer do? That she's such a one who goes in a district and looks after mats weaving, basawo abaganda, ebintu bwe bityo. Now I said, I am out of here. You see? Now, we have no MDD today. It produces about 200, etc. people. But where are they supposed to work? Doctors graduate and they have, you know, streamlined avenue where they have to go this, that. But we artists do not have that kind of stuff.
Could we say this could be the streamlining, that perhaps if it's all revised here and there,
no,
maybe the streamlining
that
will happen?
Streamline the artists. It's just like the churches. Artists are independent-minded people. Very independent-minded people. And it's very difficult to put independent-minded people together. So they have to be very careful. You can't put me with Sandy. Sandy is from a different village. His music, therefore, is determined by the village he comes from. I come from a different village, different background. My music is my music. His music is his music. So if you put us together, we just fail. Okay. So that can't put artists together, because you can't put artists together.
It's not possible, according to Mr. Alex Mukulu.
It's not possible.
In the interest of time.
And it shouldn't be possible.
It could. Perhaps we shall. Positivity is what we're going by for 2019. Mr. Sandy, briefly as we wrap this up, do you think if streamlined these regulations, perhaps as the industry, the entertainment industry, it requires some streamlining, and we could use this with revision?
Yes, some of the regulations brought on board are realistic. Others need a lot of panel beating. And true, I may disagree with Mr. Mukulu a little bit, but for those who know him, he's been an extremist in his entire career. He's a man who doesn't mince his words. But yes, there's a bit of streamlining that is needed, and the government needs to come out better to show that it has an interest in the industry. Not only to come out with regulations that are seen as if they are trying to stifle the industry. If we look at some of them, no artist should shoot a music video without permission from the Ministry of Labour. Now, that is very unrealistic. I'm informed there is a local TV station, not NTV, that receives 30 videos, okay, every day, Monday to Saturday. On average, they receive 30. Now, imagine one television station is receiving 30 new songs every day, and the station is in Kampala. But artists all over the country are shooting videos. Who is going to handle that?
I think we have done
And
that.
what mechanism are they going to use?
They say the music videos. What about films? So is it only with music videos, or is it with also, because the
We do
definition
know
of an
that
artist,
films that-
we saw that there was a filmmaker.
Yes, they are.
Now, are they talking about not talking about filmmakers, but they're talking only music what? This is
Videos.
why I say these regulations are these guys who put it together have that parochial kind of tubular way of seeing things, because they think that the entertainers now, Carmelion, Banamunagani, they are the thing. It is the entertainment industry. Forgetting that the entertainment industry, the musicians carry only about 30%, right? The entertainment industry is very large. So this is targeting musicians because Bobby Wine is on rampage.
As we continue to figure out whether and why and where this is going in regards to who is being targeted and what the end result is going to be for the entertainment industry in Uganda, I have been joined by Mr. Alex Mukulu. Thank you so much for coming. And also Mr. Sandy Eddy, who is also a part of the music industry as a music producer. Remember, you can continue this conversation using hashtag Morning at NTV. From whatever has been raised, I am Rita Kanya, and Morning at NTV continues.